Guys, I've just got a short point to make here, but it's going to be a controversial one. It's a very opinionated one. I will admit that. I'm going to pop off on something, and I just want to posit it to you as a possibility for your consideration, because nobody is going to admit this. Well, almost nobody. Only the ones that are really unapologetically hateful of us will admit to it. What we keep hearing, and this is the opinion, this is the possibility. What we keep hearing in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder, various people's murders, the gun violence, and so on, the left is always going on about getting rid of the Second Amendment right. They always make it about guns. They always make it about trying to protect people from gun violence. I have no doubt whatsoever that a very large percentage of people genuinely mean that, right? So don't just shove that aside, considering what I'm about to say. Here's the bad bit. I also am coming to the conclusion, based on people's reactions to Charlie Kirk's death and the celebrations and or complete and utter apathy, friends saying, "Oh, is the Second Amendment worth it, Charlie, because you got shot?" Despite deliberately and even when corrected and him showing the context of his defenses of the Second Amendment, still persisting with that view. Is that what they want? Is they want to take the right to bear arms out of the hands of their political foes. Because Charlie's defense of the Second Amendment was about being able to stand up against a tyrannical government. And these leftists, they don't mind a tyrannical government as long as that government backs their views. And they're quite short-sighted on this. You know, they would want, a lot of them would want and do want guns in the wake of, Trump being around. And notice how quickly, Trump really trolled them hard when he said, "I'm beginning to consider banning guns for transgendered people." And then suddenly they're screaming about the right to bear arms. So you see, this isn't actually about taking the right to bear arms or getting rid of guns. It's not about ending school shootings. It's not about anything like that. It's about being able to disarm your political opponents, to be able to come at them. Presumably, if you have arms, or at least the government has arms, and presumably if a government did get rid of guns, they would support that, and it would have to be a very left-wing government that hated the Constitution and just said, fuck the Second Amendment. So they would be supportive of that. The reason they want to get rid of guns is so that it will take away any opposition to them imposing their, I'll straightforwardly say it, anti-Christ agenda. They hate you because of your Christian values. They hate you because you don't see the world the same way that you do. They hate you because you don't support abortions and so on. And that's what motivates it. I, again, will stress, I think there are plenty of well-meaning people out there who haven't really thought it through and just sort of naively think that if you got rid of guns, that people would be nice to each other. Completely ignoring or being ignorant of the stats on knife violence. And, a day or two before Charlie Kirk's murder, that poor little girl, Irina, the Ukrainian girl, was viciously killed, murdered, knifed in the neck, and left to die alone with people standing around her completely, just not caring. So you still, that violence will still happen. People find ways to terminate each other out of if they are motivated to. But I specifically think this constant call to gun control is really to try to get rid of conservatives, because conservatives, remember, advocate for small government. They don't want the government interfering in their lives. And the way that they can back that up is that the founding fathers said, yes, you have the right to bear arms so that you could take up arms against an overreaching tyrannical government. On the other hand, you have people on the other side of the political divide who genuinely believe that we need more government. We need greater overreach. We need more healthcare plans. We need more, just more government in our lives to create a better world. I've had discussions. I have this friend in England who's a diehard communist who just says, we need, and it's always we. I said, well, who's we? Who's the government? We. And he's so disingenuous on that. He says, what do you mean? What, oh, not us. And he'll just start engaging in really, bad faith debate tactics. And it's not even a tactic. It just kind of kills the conversation. Because I'm like, mate, until you can define who we are, you're just saying, give me the power and I'll create a better world. I'm like, you're like a little despot living in your little tiny, small town in England. So, no, I am very suspicious of people. No, I won't say this. I'll say it this way. I am very empathetic or sympathetic toward the view, like people who have been touched by gun violence, because guns are violent. Actually, no, people are violent. Guns are just the tools. And yes, guns are a very efficient tool at doing violence to other human beings. Ostensibly, they're supposed to be for hunting and self-defense, but they can be used to create terror and do terrible things. And I don't want that to be done to anybody, but I also recognize the right of Americans, law-abiding Americans, to own guns, to try to, in some way, level the imbalance of power between an overreaching, powerful, tyrannical government and the common man. Charlie is right on this. He says, the difference between liberals and conservatives is that liberals take a Rousseauian view. They think people are basically good, and so they feel that, okay, there's evil in the world. So because people are basically good, they have to find something to blame it on. So they'll blame it on things like capitalism, racism, or misogyny, or these sort of big labels that only people do. So I think that therefore proves that people aren't generally good. But they find these external solutions and they put all of it in that. So, just get rid of the guns and suddenly people will be peaceful. No, get rid of the guns and the government, as long as they're, liberal Democrat, will be able to crush any political opposition by people who oppose them. And they will just be able to say, screw your constitution, screw all of that, let's just be Canada or something. And, these people are going, well, just be like Canada. Canada's great. No, you think Canada's great because you happen to like the fact that the government is backing and putting the strength of force and their guns behind what you think are the best political solutions to things. That's the only reason why you're okay with the fact that Canadians can't have guns, because they happen to be trumpeting for your side. But anybody who doesn't agree with you is finding that the Canadian government has become overtly tyrannous, with the truckers thing. If you had even donated to the truckers, boom, you have your assets frozen and so on. I mean, come on. I mean, I remember the footage of the truckers incident. It was hilarious because it was so Canadian. At the one time the government was saying that there are these horrible people. But if you went, it looked like a hippie rally. Like they had shops set up. They were selling baked goods and they were singing songs on the guitar. I mean, it was so wholesome.